Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 27 of the Resurrected A Winner Is You podcast. As ever, my name is David and I am sitting, think of something quick, many train miles across Mr. Alex Aldridge. How are you doing today, Alex?
Ahoy hoy, many stations apart.
We are many stations
apart. Which one of us is the first and which one of us is the final station?
Well,
probably you.
Well, if we keep recording and we just sit here for a while, we'll see who dies first, I guess.
Good point.
Yeah. Unless
chuffin is infected by the gas.
Or COVID, one of the two. Whoa, we've just time-stamped ourselves, I suppose, within a 2-year period, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
And however long this carries on
and
for.
Everlasting.
Years, you never know.
Yeah, okay, we're still going to be... I was speaking to my workmates, right? And this may be this is a hot COVID take, right?
Yeah.
I could see us having, right, so you know how, you don't have to so much in England, but in Scotland we still have to wear masks if we go anywhere that's indoors in a public place. So like in a shop or anything like that, we've still got to wear masks and things like that. I can envision a scenario in which, maybe Scotland, but not England, I don't know. We're going to have, I could see us having to wear masks on a plane for maybe a decade. Do you see, am I over the top with that? Because I got shot down, told I was talking absolute rubbish.
You're talking rotten, you are, son. I don't know how I even feel about going on a plane right now.
While you're thinking about that, because I still see people, if I'm ever like going abroad and stuff and you encounter like a flight that's come from Asia, they still wear masks pre-COVID I'm talking.
Yeah, they always did.
They wore masks like from SARS, which is like from 2008, 9, 10 odd?
Which is another variation of the coronavirus, right?
Oh, is it? Okay, that's interesting. And if they're still going, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be still going in a decade's time, because eventually it just becomes part of the culture, right? If you're not feeling well, put on a mask.
Would be quite nice if people did that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's not going to make you feel any better. I mean, I wouldn't want to have a cold and then put a mask on.
No.
But, I mean, it's not exactly a very good example of a place where you expect masks to disappear quickly. But obviously, while my wife was giving birth, I had to wear a mask.
Right, okay. So this is, I was actually going to touch on this. And since you've brought it up, I feel safe talking about this on a podcast. This is the first time I've seen you since you become a dad. So how was the birthing?
How do I look really awake?
Last time I saw you, you had a full head of hair. You didn't have a beard. You looked like...
Last time you saw me, I was 4 years younger. In every sense of the word.
So you've done it. You've gone through one of the biggest life...
black before last week.
Have you just been sweating on it and turned it grey?
My hat's. I'm so stressed. Even my hat's gone grey. I'm actually doing okay. I've had a good amount of time for gaming.
Good.
Babies do indeed sleep a lot.
Yeah, from what I hear, the first couple of weeks they do a lot of sleeping, and then they'll start kicking off. So you're probably pretty safe for a while.
She's sort of, she gets into this what they call cluster feeding, where she just kind of keeps wanting to eat, mainly at night time.
Did they grow out of it? I feel like that's what I do.
Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't eat for like an hour and then go to sleep for 2 minutes and then eat again.
No,
I hope.
No.
Yeah, so we were told we had some woman come around, like this specialist sort of breastfeeding expert, to help my wife kind of get it down. And she said something like, "Oh yeah, you need to have them sitting upright for 20 minutes after they feed," which seemed excessive to me. And we've since confirmed that that's only if they've got some kind of like acid reflux or some other condition that I can't remember the name of. Mm-hmm. Because I think that my wife obviously took that information and decided she was going to immediately implement it. And so every time she fed her, she'd then sit her upright and then she'd just wake up straight away. So then she'd want to feed again. So I kept saying to her, like, are you sure you can't just put her to bed? She's fallen asleep. You're just waking her up again. Like, she had one night where she's basically up all night doing it. And I'm just sitting there like, well, I can't do this. So
if I ever enter this situation, I can absolutely guarantee you that Annie, my girlfriend for our listeners, is going to, if any midwife says that to her, she's going to whip out the phone and start setting timers. She is definitely going to do that.
Every time we're feeding, like Rach says, "Oh, what's the exact time on your phone right now?" because she needs to write it down because every 3 hours we have to feed her. So I say we again. It was me when we couldn't get breastfeeding down, but now we can. I've just been told I have to change every nappy as a trade-off, which is odd.
Well,
It's just an odd way of. I mean, it's fair. It's
Yeah.
fair. It's just a funny way of dividing the labour in that my wife's job involves
she does the
basically
top
getting her
end, you
tits
do
out
the
all
bottom end.
My job involves looking at shit and arse all the time. So it's very strange.
I mean, I feel like there's a metaphor there for your day job, so maybe it's just
something like that. Yeah.
you go from looking at shit from people's day job or like IT stuff day in, day out.
I don't know how we can relate my wife's job as a teacher with her having her tits out all the time. Though that'd be a bit odd.
No, I don't think. Yeah, we won't.
It's a very specific kind of teacher.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, the listeners can figure out what kind of teacher I'm referring to. I don't even think I know.
So the game we're playing.
I am tired, but not too bad.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it, buddy, and I'm glad to see that you seem happy and you seem well and you seem.
Oh, my anxiety's through the roof. Let's not be. There's no. It's definitely. It's incredibly stressful.
Well, I did consider. So I hope this is taken in the joke it's meant to be, and not a serious, and not like a serious like dig at you. But I was actually wondering whether it was safe to say, like, at what point does your crippling anxiety that you've had over the last couple of years transform from being stressed about your own body to being absolutely stressed about someone else's body? It was an instant as soon as she was born.
Yeah, but then obviously that does things to your own body, so then you go back to yourself again.
It's just a trade-off, a constant trade-off.
Yeah. Like, oh my god, is she okay? Stress about that for like 2 days, and then you're like, man, I feel really rough. God, what's going on with me? And then it just goes back and forth. Oh man. But yeah, I'm sure at some point, because my mum was always like, oh, as soon as you have your own kid, all your worries about yourself will all disappear. You'll just be solely focused on them. So every time I like worry about myself, is I'm sitting there thinking like, you lied. You said this would stop. And I also feel like I'm bad. I can't even do anxiety right. I'm still selfish.
I was about to say the pressure's on me because at some point you're getting we do have a good and quite a successful and quite an enjoyable Apex team at the moment, but at some point you're gonna get old and I'm going to need to trade you in. So it's on you to bring up the new generation. So let's give it. We'll give it 5.
I'm not going to get old, are you?
No.
Just me.
We'll give it 5 years.
I imagine me having a kid will age me more rapidly than you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the amount I drink will maybe even things up a little bit.
You might keep up. Yeah,
I'll probably
you'll balance it out.
What I'm doing is really a public service with the amount of alcohol I intake. I'm really just serving the community.
At least a service to the alcohol industry, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, at some point I'm going to give it. I was going to say 5. That's maybe a bit harsh on you. So we'll give it 8 years, and then I'll trade you in to Alex 2.0.
Okay, and I'll see if she can get up to snuff by then. We'll
start training her a fortnight early, and then Apex will be an absolute dream.
I can't train her at fortnight. I don't know what I'm doing.
What are you going? I know. What kind of like training are you going to be able to give her? She's going to be mad good at collecting Mario stars.
Yeah, she might know where all the musical notes are for the first level of Banjo-Kazooie. I think I still know where they all are off
yeah, that's a solid beginning. Banjo-Kazooie is like a... at what point do you have to become the guy that writes into video game podcasts to ask about how to introduce our kids to games? Or are you just going to...
I don't need that advice. We are a podcast. People should write into me and ask me how to do it.
Exactly.
And my answer will be, if they need to be sort of not like that girl who shook that baby to death, but like, motioned and sung to sleep.
Shaken or stirred.
I seem to be drifting between either the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme or the end credits to Mario World. I don't know why that's happened. So now basically every time like Rach comes in, she's like, can you just try helping her settle down for a bit? I'm like, yeah, sure. And it works. She comes in and goes, oh, you got her to sleep, well done. I'm like, yep. I know what she's dreaming about, riding them Yoshis.
As long as she's not...
works nicely with your mug.
Exactly. I'm going to I don't know if I haven't shown it to the podcast, have I?
I think you did inadvertently a minute ago.
Inadvertently, yeah. Look at this bad boy. And then every time I put the mug down, I'm smashing its head off. A nice question block. Oh, look at this boy. One-upping me. Showing me up.
This was bought for me by my sister. I've got so many of these video game coasters lying around this room.
Well,
But
game. But yes,
having a kid's not too
I,
bad.
I was hoping that
There's a lot of Switch. You know what? I played Shinobi 3 in the fucking hospital.
Okay.
Don't know why.
Did you enjoy it?
Well, I'll tell you why I did actually. Because I thought I might try and get a head start on whatever it is I needed to write about for the next Sega Mania magazine. I thought, well, I've got the Mega Drive collection on the Switch. I've got my Switch in the hospital. Let's have a go. But none of the games I've got to cover are on there. So I just thought, well, what do I actually want to play on here? Oh, I've never really played Shinobi. Shinobi, Revenge of Shinobi, the second one.
I've played
third one.
I've played a Shinobi game for the Sega Mega Drive, I think, but I don't know which one I've played.
Yeah, I think there are 3.
Okay, so we've narrowed it down. Shinobi, is that a series that is worth bringing back? Because is it Stalker? Strider, got there.
That's the one that came back on the PS4. That game is excellent.
Is that so? Is that a Shinobi game, or is that just a different another ninja game? Same,
I don't even know if he's a ninja. You know, because more like
in my mind that played a lot like the Shinobi game I played, except instead of walls and stuff that I saw the guy jumping over, it was like barbed wire, not like chicken wire mesh fences. I saw him. Yeah. And I'm gonna have to look it up for the next podcast, and I'll just drop it in randomly. So if you're listening to this podcast or watching, I suppose, and next week I'm just going to randomly say a game name, and hopefully you'll get the reference.
Yeah, there was one. That I should never have mentioned because I can't remember the name of it. But I saw some dude playing it on the old Games Master episodes I was watching the other day. And
still going with that, are you? Enjoying it?
Yeah, but one thing apparently that is not enjoyable, and I haven't tested this for myself, but apparently the new Games Master is like heinous.
Oh, is it out yet? I thought we were still waiting on it.
Well, see, the confusing thing about it is that it's not on television. It's on like all 4. Maybe also YouTube. But
okay, if it's I don't have access to normal TV in my TV anymore. Like, it's not plugged into an aerial, so it has to be streamable, or it's not getting watched.
Well, there you go. It's only streamable.
Okay. Oh, it's all 4 only. Right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just
I generally try to avoid Channel 4 stuff because the streaming service is so bad in the ads. If you try and even mess with an ad when it comes up, it'll like I'll be randomly up here playing a game, and I'll just hear Annie shouting downstairs, and it'll be because she's tried to watch Bake Off. And she's tried to mess with the adverts, and it's put her right back to the start of the whole show. And this happens on a weekly basis.
Yeah, or you pause it and then it brings it. Well, I paused it the other day and it came up with like Clifford the Big Red Dog, and my dog went mental.
There's a thing coming out about that. Have they made like a movie or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
because that was like a kids' TV show that sat alongside like Williams Wish Wellingtons, and then there was like some sort of Barnard the dog, maybe, that was like one of those Dulux dogs. I remember I had welly boots of them when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You just had a whole bunch of stuff I've never heard of. I thought you were going to start talking about like...
You've never heard of Williams Wish Wellingtons? Oh, you're going to have to Google that. Maybe watch an episode in between Games Master episodes.
Yeah, old ones, not the new ones. Because apparently the new one is full of like 25-year-old Instagrammers.
Oh.
Not geeky teenage kids. Or even younger than that.
Although, if they were going to be like the influencers of the ilk of that guy, remember that E3 episode? That E3 presentation, it was a Need for Speed game where the guy totally pooped the bed on camera. I'd watch that maybe, because that was
so good. The game's called Need for Speed. Check it out. That was so. I forgot all about him. That's died as a death recently, isn't it? Like, there's not been an abundance of E3 cringe in recently. Well, I suppose because they've been doing these
virtual
last year.
E3s,
they just did where it's not live, so they just kind of record it and edit out any fuck ups. It's just not got the potential for cringe it used to.
Listening to the Giant Bombcast today, and they were talking about, or one of the guys, Jeff Baccalar, on the episode was talking about how he's sort of resigned himself to the next time he's going to be on a plane is going to be around June, because he thinks that the next E3 is going to be an in-person event, and that'll be the first thing he goes to in like 2.5-3 years.
What a thrill!
What a thrill! Do you know what? I am disappointed that E3 has sort of died before you and I made it. I would have loved to have made it to an E3 and gone to an E3, because that was always the sort of goal when you and I were podcasting when we were at uni. It's like, I want to go to an E3 as a member of the press. And now E3 doesn't really exist properly anymore, so it's never going to happen. I mean, what do we shoot for now? A PAX? I don't know.
Oh, well, maybe. I mean, I know that Goomba Stomp sends people there, so it's just never going to be us, is it?
We may still make it.
Can't be flying to LA now. Too late. It's all gone. We did Gamescom. Every time we go, we hate them anyway. So they're just boring.
They are. I mean, like, that's the thing, isn't it? They're actually not fun.
No.
They're really not cool. They're a grind, and they're like exhausting. You come back and you're just like, that was. I need to sleep.
Well, you sort of end the entire event where you've done nothing but be sort of surrounded by games and people making games and ability to play all these new games, and then as soon as the event's over, you're like, man, I can't wait to play an actual game, because all of that was just like 15 minutes of shit. I don't even care. I don't remember it.
Standing in like 2 hour queues to get 15 minutes of Resident Evil 2 remake or whatever it was we did. Although we played Mario Kart in there. That was good. That was worth it. Spider-Man was worth it. Sekiro was worth it.
The Sekiro was definitely worth it.
Fallout 76 was not worth it.
Well, we didn't even get to play that. No, we just got to watch the trailer again. We got to watch the trailer. Todd Howard lies.
Do you know what though? Like, probably one of the game that put the biggest grin in my mug was Forza Horizon, when we went and played that at Gamescom.
Yeah, because that demo was absolutely spectacular. Yeah. Was that there? Or was that somewhere else?
Yeah, that was where we played that. What did we? Can you remember what we played when we split up? Like, I went and played Battlefield. I played some Division. We've played a game that still hasn't been released yet. We've played that Ubisoft pirate game.
Don't cross your fingers for that one. Jolly Roger Dodger, whatever it was called. What was it
something
called?
like that. Because Summon Sales, maybe. No, because that's that's the Amazon.
Black Flag? No.
Black Flag.
That's the Assassin's Creed game.
Amazon Black Flag. No, that's totally wrong. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. What was that game called? But it's not like, from what we played of it, it's either going to be dramatically different or it's going to crash and burn, because Sea of Thieves has come out since, and that is everything that game should have been.
When did we play Sea of Thieves? Skull and Bones.
There
we are.
Do you know what also upset? I don't know if I've got it, and I hope I've got it. I hope I've kept it. We got given a flag from Skull and Bones. I've got a Skull and Bones flag going about somewhere in this room. I'll need to see if I can find it. That is something I better have kept. If I've thrown that out, I'm going to have a word with myself.
I actually can't remember where any of the stuff from conventions.
And the other thing I've got was that, because Spider-Man wasn't released at that point, we played Spider-Man. We had like a German newspaper.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I definitely know where it is I've got dog tags from Battlefield 5 in that cupboard beside me there, hanging up, that I got given.
I'm struggling to think of anything we've ever got from a convention that's actually been useful.
What are you talking about? Your Ouya?
Oh yeah, I got 100 quid for that.
And do you know, like, legit, the best thing I think I've got from a convention is that Hitman statue that we got.
Yeah, mine's sort of roundabout.
That was actually cool. Yeah, and probably t-shirts. Like, I've got some cool t-shirts that I wear to bed, but I don't think I'd wear them out in public.
Exact same. Yeah,
but like they're good. That Sekiro t-shirt I've got is actually a good quality t-shirt. It's not like my Xbox one that is just cheap.
I do like that Xbox one though. Oh, actually, no, that's what am I talking about? The lanyard that we got for Xbox Game Pass. I wear that. I have my work pass on that.
I've got that somewhere as well.
Makes me feel like a right boss walking about like everybody else works for a fucking hair straightening company. I've got an Xbox lanyard. And also we got what's it called? There was that game and I swear I had the word devil in the title, and it was like a really shit Devil May Cry ripoff. Maybe it didn't.
Oh, I know what you mean, because you were on the preview for that. I think you ended up doing. I wasn't.
Yeah. And they gave us like a USB stick, so
they did, and we also got.
That's actually useful.
What's that disc throwing game called again?
Windjammers.
Is that out yet? That's another
I don't know.
They give us a beer.
I don't know.
They gave us a beer, so maybe that wins.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
We're trying to get them. I've been tasked with trying to get in touch with them for Sega Mania, and I can't remember why. .emu must have done something Sega related recently, and I don't know what it was.
Cool.
But I was just like, oh yeah, I met them at Gamescom. He's like, oh, do you still have their contact info? I was like, maybe. I definitely don't. The guy would never give me the time of day now. It's been like 3 years.
Hey, we're still here. We're still fighting. We're still swinging.
Yeah.
You're in a published magazine now, man.
Yeah, and you're a Battlefield reviewer, or are you? Have you finished it yet? Played it? Is it
still going?
Terrible?
Still going. Do you know what? This is the thing, is that it's no Apex, and I'm wasted on Apex. It is. I've been watching a lot of coverage for it, which when you're reviewing,
that'll poison your ideas.
Well, this is the problem. Is I feel like I'm always would love a bit of what your feelings are on this, but like when it comes to a video game, and you like it, like because we couldn't get a code for this, so I bought it. But I was going to buy it anyway because I've got a friend, Tony, in his Wii porn actually. Tony's been playing it, so I was like, I'll buy it to play with you and hang out. And I was like, well, I'm going to get it anyway. I may as well try and get a free code for it. Did not get a free code, so I had to buy it. And then I've been playing it and I've been watching coverage of it. So like one thing I struggle with when you're reviewing a game, my gut is avoid all review coverage of it and just don't watch anything. So I haven't been
for this really.
I haven't been reading reviews. I haven't been reading like people's opinions of it, but I do listen to Yong Ye and stuff like that, and I watch like various
he's been slaying it, hasn't he?
News-based content. I feel like as soon as it comes up, I should just get away. But I've seen stuff. I've not had these problems. I've had the odd occasion where I feel like what I'm shooting is maybe not registering, but also I've bought it on PC. Oh. So I'm new to mouse and keyboard, and I'm also struggling with the sort of mouse and keyboard ethos, and like in terms of using one and making sure it works, and like because like it's not something I usually use a controller, so it's hard to tell whether. And this is why I need to keep playing it. It's hard to tell whether I'm actually encountering these problems or I'm just not very good with it. But for the most part, I've not seen the cheating. I've not seen the issues. I've not had the game crash, and I've not had the same problems that people are getting these games. I've not had the problems with like the loading or the lack of loading, textures and stuff like that. I've honestly not seen it. And to an extent, maybe this is going to be more useful of a review because we didn't get a code for it because EA decided it was going to be bad or they were expecting it not to be well received. They didn't give out codes to everyone. But maybe because this review is going to be late, it's going to be more useful because I actually haven't had those problems. And eventually those problems are, I would assume and hope, and if they aren't, then EA need to sort themselves out. But like these things are maybe going to iron themselves out.
Yeah.
My issue with it so far is that it's for a series that is how old now? 20 years old at least.
Yeah.
It's
probably late 90s.
It's sorely lacking in features. There's 4 game modes. There's like 18 guns in the game. It's like for a game that is built on the chaotic madness of battle and just being able to sort of create your custom loadout and create the character that you want, the character or the loadout or whatever it is you want to use in a fight, the class, it's really, really lacking in that. You can basically be assault, you can be sniper rifle, and there's like 4 sniper rifles, and it's just like there's not a lot of options here and not enough options. And the fact that I don't know. I'll speak to you offline about this because probably like it's not like we've got an embargo or anything about it, but it's probably quite boring to hear me try and parse a game
that's not written in the episode title.
No, and there's moments of playing this game where I'm like, this game is awesome. But say like a match lasts 40 minutes. This game is awesome lasts 5 minutes. and then there's 35 minutes of me getting frustrated and getting annoyed and just thinking that, like, this game is not enough. Like, the first person genre has moved forward. In fact, we're beyond charging like 60 quid for a game that is that is non-functional at launch, when there's free games like Apex that are knocking it out of the park week in, week out.
Halo
like,
Infinite's free
Halo Infinite,
for the moment.
And it was launched alongside Halo Infinite, and there's another, Call of Duty, but people don't seem to be liking that very much either at the moment. But it's launching alongside massive hitters in the industry, and it's
and
just,
that Hell Let Loose as well, supposed to be pretty good.
Exactly, and it's just fallen sorely short. I'm like, is this a good game? Yeah. Is it better than Halo, and is it better than Apex? No, is the answer. And
is it better than the old Battlefields? Absolutely
no. And you've got to pay for you've got to pay for this game, and like Apex and Halo are free. It's like, oh. But anyway, I was hoping that at some point during a conversation we would stumble across something that I could then use as a segue off of the word.
What I was going to say was, speaking of games that probably should have been played on PC, Final Station.
Maybe we should, but yeah. So I was looking for a segue to do with death, so I could just use the Final Station as that. But no, we didn't find it. But this week we are playing Final Station. This is a game that it's a short game. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like 5 hours, maybe?
At a push, yeah. Probably not even that.
It's a game I was saying to you before we started recording, I've completed this 3 times, like straight through now, and I've also played the DLC for the most part,
which you told me to avoid, and I did.
It's not great.
That's a shame.
I guess like probably the best way to start all these podcasts is having our general thoughts, feelings, and having a wee chat about how we found the game. This game is, on the surface, it's a game that's the gameplay loop is incredibly simplistic. You arrive at a station, you kill the enemies at the station, you get to the end of the level, and then you make your way back, collecting stuff along the way, enter a code, and then there's a bit in between where you have to manage a train, and each the train's got like a cycle of 4 mini games, and it never really gives you more than 2 at the same time that you've got to juggle. But it's so simple, but I love this game. I really, really am fond of this game. What's your feelings of it?
Well, I think first of all, this is probably the least prepared for any episode I think I've ever felt.
Excellent.
Just because purely I don't really understand enough about what happened, and I can't recall. It's probably our fault for playing our next game immediately afterwards, because I think I've just been thinking about that too much now. That
maybe, but I also pause that. We'll come back to this at the end, and we can include it or not include it in the podcast. But carry on with your thoughts. Sorry.
Oh right, okay.
No, I said pause my. I was talking to myself.
Oh sorry, right. I think pause mine.
I'm putting a pin in my thought, and we'll come back to that.
Right. Okay. There are a fair amount of things about this to really enjoy. I love I suppose you can call it an atmosphere. I love the.
I think it is. It is like I'm trying to resist the word saying oozing, because I love to say it oozes atmosphere, but it's
there's
like
a lot of stuff oozing in this game.
It is just filled. Like I think filled to the brim with atmosphere. It is incredibly atmospheric. This game.
Yeah, through a style and an artistic choice that has to be tough to make feel genuinely atmospheric, because
it's really simple.
Without that realism, with little silly little 8-bit guys bobbing about with a silly little train conductor uniform on, would be difficult to convey the sense of sort of foreboding and trepidation that's needed. But it just comes from such a simple idea of you can't see what's on the other side of this door till you open it, which is how life works. But to not be able to not know where you're going to go, every room.
Did you get to the point?
Becomes...
Did you do the same as me? Because I couldn't decide if I was wasting ammo or not. But I was getting to the point where I was
definitely wasting it.
Looking at windows and thinking, right, I can't see what's in these buildings, but if you go and shoot the windows, you can see what's through the building. So it was almost a way to see if there was any of those smoking boys or leaping boys. before you
Those little dudes are
yeah
a nightmare.
before you actually open the doors, because you could get a gauge of, like, there was a lot of the time where you could climb up like the fire escape buildings and shoot the windows out but not actually get in the room. I went up and did that just to see what I get the best idea of what was coming. I think, and I did find that useful, but often I got through levels thinking, well, that was useless, because I think they made the game. I'm not sure if they did or didn't intend for you to do that, but very often it felt like those rooms that you were smashing were empty.
Yeah. The game for me is slightly hamstrung by the fact that it's had some neat ideas, but they don't necessarily mesh together in a way that is conducive to sort of gaining the experience that the developers want you to have. So I'm specifically referring to the train sections here, where they are a cool idea. I love the theme around it. It's very. Have you seen this film Snowpiercer? It just evokes that in me.
I've seen there's a series of that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I've seen like 7 episodes of that or something.
Yeah. So it definitely makes me think about stuff like that. But the biggest issue that I have with the game is that when you are on the train, that's when you're going to get a lot of expositional dialogue from the people who are there. That's when you're going to get those beautiful vistas that fly past.
I
almost
think
look like they're PlayStation
totally
graphics.
Agree with what you're going to say here, but yes, carry on.
Yeah. So I just love looking at the backgrounds when you're on the train. I think it looks amazing. But obviously you're too preoccupied with not having them die, feeding them, giving them health kits, crafting, reading the messages from the other conductors, fixing the train if it goes down. Now, I'm pretty sure the dialogue pauses when you're doing stuff and will revert once you walk back into the room. But there are also times where you will have somebody on your train who is bleeding to death, who has already used up all your med kits, and once you are told that you have arrived at the station, the train will carry on going and he will carry on dying. And if you have not finished all the dialogue, you have a choice to make, whether you are going to listen and have him potentially die, or you're going to get the fuck off the train and keep him alive. And there was just too many obstacles. It's kind of like Bioshock. You know, when we were talking about how Bioshock was so great because it did, well, back in the day, it was so great because the audio logs didn't interrupt the gameplay, and you could. But whoever really listened to them properly, because there was so much mental shit.
Especially, yeah, exactly.
And that was audio. So there is a potential for you to actually do two things at once, because you can play and listen.
Yeah.
But playing and looking at a little meter that I don't quite understand, because the game's added another one in and I don't really understand how to fix this part, while someone else is talking with dialogue over the other. Like, I can't read two things at once. So that for me was the translation is obviously terrible, like utter garbage.
There's spelling and grammar mistakes all over the place, like
whole words.
It
feels like it's slapped in Google Translate and then slapped into the game's code.
Yeah,
which fair enough, but get somebody English to at least have a quick once over before
give it a
you
once
send it
over.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My that's my major beef for the game. Like, I actually I enjoyed probably all the sections of these games, but I actually found that I was genuinely quite engaged with the story and trying, and like, or at least maybe not.
That's what they want from you.
Well, yeah, because the game's so simple, they want you to be captivated by the story, and I was at least captivated by the mystery of what is happening in this world, and wanting to understand and maybe just fucking extrapolate and pull things apart and understand how things are happening. But you're right. I think I said this to you in a text. I was so concentrated on trying to keep people alive that I took in like in the playthrough we did. Like, obviously, I'm saying this is my third playthrough, so I have read bits and pieces over the course. But like this time, I was so concentrated on trying to make sure nobody died that I read nothing that anybody said ever. Absolutely nothing, which is a shame, because I was so interested in hearing about the visitation, about what people thought was happening, what people were running from, what people thought they were running to, and because that is genuinely interesting and fascinating, and having sort of this train driver that the train organization or whatever they are actually don't like, but you're sort of their last hope, just have to rely on you, and get these really apparently, we're not sure, well, we'll get to this, but maybe not important things to these places is really, really fascinating, because it's like you're trying, like, while like communication routes and like the ability to engage with the outside world seems to be falling around you, and it's almost like society's collapsing again, and that something really bad is happening. When you're on a train, it's really difficult to engage with that, because you're just trying to keep people alive, because there are people that have got head wounds that are based on the speed that their health is dropping. They have just got gallons of blood leaking out of them, and you're just sort of patching them up with kits to try and keep them alive. And that's a real shame. I would have preferred, me personally, if I was redoing this game, I would do away with the whole train section. Obviously keep the train section, but do away with all the mechanics and just have an engaging conversation. Maybe put in some conversational dialogues that affect things in a way so that you can but some way to actually make you engage with the dialogue, and because that's where they do major
like
plot.
It pauses what's going on around you.
Exactly.
While you listen.
They unload and offload major plot points during this section. But I missed them all because I was trying to keep people alive.
And at the same time they do it. There's an artistry to conspicuousness. Is that the word? Inconspicuous?
Inconspicuous and conspicuous as a bird, I guess.
Yeah. So being sort of vague with your storytelling and keeping things mysterious is a skill that I don't believe these people have mastered.
No.
And in the end, what they come up with is something that just kind of makes sense, but you can't find a definitive theory online about what's actually happened here. So with the way that the game ends and the way that it tries to give the story to you, and both in its language choice, lack of sort of proper exposition that's easy to understand until very, very late on, and the way that you're supposed to do busy work at the same time as reading it, really kind of like hampers the effectiveness of the message. That's
to me is the major problem with this game, is that they're asking, they're like they've got the game mechanics and the story during the train sections specifically collide with each other, and they stop you from enjoying one or other. You can either engage with the mechanics or you can engage with the story. You cannot do both. You just can't.
No, you can't. And the worst part of all, of course, is that for the sort of the whole third act of the game, you are keeping people alive for rewards that you never actually get to use, because the final safe zone doesn't even have a fucking shop in it. So to me, that's a cardinal sin, that is.
Yeah.
Because you've obviously, I mean, you're going to get a trophy for it, I assume. So but you've spent all that time trying to keep all the people alive.
Well, I did it. Yeah, I kept everyone alive.
There's no shop there.
Yeah, no one dies. You don't get to spend any money.
And you can pick up like 10,000 off that briefcase, and you can't spend anything. And the developer actually responded on Steam. I saw this. He commented on Steam. One of them commented on Steam and said, "Oh yeah, we didn't do that because we wanted to balance the game." It's like, yeah, but the end of the game is fucking hard, and we could have all really used that money that you've made us earn to be spent on bullets.
Well, yeah, they give you incentives to do well. They should then allow you to capitalize on those said incentives. It's like, well, the perfect example is the final mission in Mass Effect 2. It's like you do all this work in the build up to this sort of supposed suicide mission. Yeah. But if you've prepared properly for it, upgraded your ship, made good fucking friends with all your allies or like crewmates, if you've done all these things in the lead up to it, it makes the end of the game easier. / you can actually come out of the other end with a good ending. This game just gives you that incentive. You do all the work, and then it's just like, fuck you at the end. Doesn't matter what you've done. Don't care. You shouldn't have that. You see all that gameplay you just engaged with. You should have just ignored it because
it's it was all worthless.
Yeah,
here's a bunch of money that you can't spend because there's no shop in Metropole. Sorry about that.
It's deeply
balance the game.
It's deeply frustrating. and it's but for me, it's deeply, deeply frustrating because I actually liked everything else about the game.
Yeah.
And I think there's an opportunity to have a storyline that is, I don't know, maybe you don't necessarily have to conclude it definitively and give everyone a clear understanding. Like there's plenty of games out there that like Limbo, the sequel to Limbo. Like there's plenty of games out there that are sort of nebulous with their finishing, but. Yeah, I'm now repeating myself. It's like you want us to engage with these mechanics and then don't reward us for engaging with the mechanics. You do know that we play video games. Like this is what we do. Like it's like the reason. Like I didn't engage with these mechanics for the sake of it. I engaged with it so that the rest of the game, I had more opportunities to buy ammo, buy health packs, buy something to allow me to then complete the game to a satisfactory conclusion. And the conclusion, I guess, is subjective, but...
And then it made me waste more time because I was walking around Metropole for about half an hour looking for a shop that wasn't there and Googling it, being like, why is there no shop here?
Yeah.
It was only when I found that the developer had responded to somebody on Steam being like, where the fuck's the shop in Metropole? I've just got all this money. And then being like, nah, sorry, we took it out because we want to balance the game and make it hard. It's like... Yeah, well, I mean, it was hard. It was a struggle at the end, and it's a survival game, I guess. So, yeah, well done, but... Yeah,
I'm glad I had finished this game twice before, and I'm glad you didn't actually encounter this. But the third time through, I encountered a bug that seems to be known to people. In that there's in that sort of last area before you leave. Is it the final area you go to before you try and go home? You know the area that I'm talking about where you go and meet everyone. I encountered a bug where it became almost impossible to interact with things. You know how, like, if you wanted to go in a room
exactly
door,
what happened to me.
Oh, you got it.
Well, you have to go on that lift up to the top floor.
Yeah, so I was running around in that area, and like you've got to get on the buses that take you to different areas. Mm-hmm. I had to just start mashing A and then walking back and forth across the bus because I encountered a bug, and apparently this isn't, like I'm saying, this is a known bug. That you just can't interact with things in this area, and that made me so angry because I was looking up because I got lost and I was like, I've done this game twice before. How am I lost? Yeah. And it was because I was walking past the area where I thought I was meant to go, but it wasn't highlighting. So I just basically
exactly the same.
Yeah. So
I was walking past that front door with the lift, and it was, and I had to watch a video and be like, I've done something wrong. So what I did was I went back and tried to follow this guy's bus route. Because I was like, I've obviously taken the buses in a wrong numerical order. It's like a puzzle. You've got to take blue, then green, then green, then blue or something. Maybe that's what he's done. So I'm going to do what he's done. And I was even walking the exact directions he was. Like, I'm going to walk over here. Oh, he went the wrong way, but it doesn't matter. Right? It obviously worked for him. And I'd go to that door and it would still not go white. And I couldn't get in it. What? That was really weird. I'm glad that happened to you because I forgot to text you about that at the time. Just being like, I was going to send you a video. Be like, look at this shit.
I was getting so angry with it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, well, bugs happen, I guess, and they're small.
They've obviously given up on that. Do they still exist?
So
what are they called again?
Yeah, so let's, I guess this is our opportunity to dive into this. So the final station is a single player side-scrolling, this is what Wikipedia says. The final station is a single player side-scrolling shooter video game with a train simulator and exploration elements. It was developed by Do My Best Games and published by Tiny Build and released on August the 30th, 2016 for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Xbox One, and September the 2nd for PS4. Tiny Build, you're right. Do My Best Games do not have a Wikipedia page, so I suspect they are now gone, which is a shame because I do, as much as we've been panning this game, I do like it.
Me too.
I actually do like this game. I'm trying to look and see what games they did No Time to Explain, which is quite a good game.
Is it?
Yeah. Let me have a quick look and remind myself about this. No Time to Explain. This game.
This is Do My Best you're talking about now, is it?
Yeah, this is because we can't find anything. No, this is Tiny Build. Sorry, Do My Best seems to be gone. No Time to Explain. No Time to Explain remastered. Oh, they did that Party Hard game that came out on PS4. Punch Club. That was on iOS. Club. Yeah,
that's great.
I've got that installed on my phone because I remember we were speaking. You were like, "This game is brilliant." I installed it and I've still not played it. Speedrunners. I'm a big fan of Speedrunners. That is a very, very good game. That's another game they did. They did Cluster Truck, which is another very, very good game. So this Hello Neighbor. Yeah, they've done some
I haven't
good.
played those Hello Neighbor games, but I know that I see them all the time.
Yeah, they're sort of they remind me very much of the Slenderman games that were popular when we were at university.
Oh, okay.
Punch Club.
Oh, Mr.
2.
Shifty. That's a good game.
Mr. Shifty. Yeah, so this publisher's done a lot. The Tiny Build. Let me have a quick Google and see what Tiny Build do. Tiny.
You mean Do My Best?
Yes.
Because we just looked at Tiny Build.
Yeah. Shut your face. Do My Best games. See if they still exist. They might just not have a Wikipedia page. Right, so they've got a Twitter account.
Because I saw somewhere somebody was talking about they're going to do a second one.
I hope so. No, they're still going. They're doing a game called Dormitory. I'm not sure what that is. I've also got a game called City of Trains. Neither of which are released. There's also a game called Bookwalker. So they seem to be messing about with a lot of things, but I'm going to give these guys a follow and see if we can keep up with what they're up to.
Oh yeah, I just tried to look at their website, but it is entirely in Russian or some language.
Yeah,
looks like Russian.
I think that they're worth digging into. But yeah, they do still exist, which I guess is good because people need to be allowed to hone their craft, build their games.
I feel like with better translation, with maybe just a bit more time to sort of test whether this actually worked, or to just rein in some of the ideas, just to scale it back a little bit, and there's maybe too many things you've tried to stick in here all at once, then the game would be at like a really good level, whereas it's just kind of a little bit hoisted by its own ambition, or its ambition to be vague.
Yeah. No,
it just ends up being confusing.
Totally agree. Let's do. So what I'll do here, Alex, this is going to be a bit of reading from me, but hopefully it'll be useful. I've got a bit of a synopsis here of the story.
Okay.
So let's try it. And then I've also got a synopsis of the DLC, which we can come back to in a bit, that hopefully wraps things up in a different way. So the story basically is the player takes the role of a conductor named Edward Jones, who's working as a train operator 106 years after a catastrophe dubbed the First Visitation. One day, Jones is tasked with taking an experimental train to pick up a special cargo. However, during the journey, Jones quickly discovers that he is in the midst of the second visitation, as cities and towns are attacked by an unknown force and their inhabitants are transformed into aggressive monsters by some unknown infection. Eventually, Jones picks up the power source and central processor for the Guardian, a massive war machine being built to protect humanity from the second visitation. Jones finally reaches the city of Metropole, where the Guardian is being built, and delivers the cargo. On the way, this immediately jumps. But basically, after that's when we're at Metropole, and then Jones is like, "I want to go home and see my family and daughter and stuff like that." On the way home, Jones picks up a mysterious stranger named Arthur Vane, who rides with him and speaks with him in cryptic clues. Vane reveals to Jones that the infection that is transforming people into monsters is not a virus, but a medicine that was meant to make people stronger, and that the radiation from the train's engine is generating is protecting Jones from its effects. Shortly after, the train breaks down, forcing Jones to make the rest of the journey on foot. Along the way, he passes the destroyed wreck of the Guardian, and is accidentally exposed to poison gas. When he finally reaches his hometown, he discovers that the people who are apparently immune to the infection are already rebuilding society, but he himself is showing the symptoms of infection. Jones manages to reach his home, but succumbs to the infection before he can see his daughter. Vane then arrives and promises to look after Jones's daughter before mercifully killing him.
You know, there's a lot of people who think he's talking about the train for some reason, but that's bollocks.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
When he says, "I'll take care of her" before he finishes him off.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
People seem to think he's talking about taking care of the train, but the train's already broken.
Yeah, and you're literally in a little girl's room.
And in the back wall of that house, there's the phone on the wall, and it's got a light blinking for the voice messages because you've tried to use the phone a couple of times in the game and nobody answers because he's been trying to call home. So you can see those calls you made are still blinking on the phone light. So your daughter's obviously long gone. There's also a theory people seem to think that Arthur Vane is not real.
I think Arthur Vane is real. So this just to dive straight into it here. I think Arthur Vane is real, but I think Arthur Vane is an alien, represented in a human body. So there are like when you're going around the level, and I'm trying to see if I've got notes about them here. I'm sure I do. I've got the capsules. Let me just quickly open this, and I'll talk about the capsules.
Yeah, you go in the order you want to go in because I think I've jumped straight to like theories of the end game there. So
I think that's to be honest, we've torn the gameplay apart, and we can touch on it again later. But
yeah, I think we should.
For the most part, I think this is what's actually engaging about the game is the story and what is actually going on in the story. So as you're going around the map and stuff, you encounter many times these capsules, and you do actually encounter one of these capsules towards the end of the game before you turn into one of these black things. So there's these things called the capsules, and looking on the Final Station Wikipedia page, they've got the capsules are large pill-shaped devices that appear to be made of an unknown metal. They are seen sparingly in some areas and numerously in others. Some are half buried in the ground of an open field, and others are crashed into buildings and homes, causing considerable damage in their wake. The capsules are motionless devices and a large mystery in the beginning. It is unknown why they emit mysterious noises, though that may be the result of gas being released. So
what I assumed,
it's what I assumed too. So the interesting thing, and we need to come back to this guy, is the guy that was. Remember at the beginning or sort of the first third of the game, you go and visit the guy that was there during the first visitation.
The scientist guy.
Yeah, well, he's like a really old man, and when you go and talk to him, he's like, "People don't listen to me anymore." But I was there during the first visitation. He had one white eye and one red eye, and apparently. If you're walking around the game, if you look at everyone's eyes, people that have been exposed to this supposed medicine, if they've got white eyes, they are immune, or I'm not 100% sure if they're immune or they're actually the alien beings, because at the very beginning of the game you encounter a group of people that are covered in white. There's like a massive group of people that are white, all got white eyes, and they're talking about actually. It seems like they're talking about the spread of the virus, this so-called virus.
No, not in the church. That's right. It's
right at the beginning before you get on a train. You encounter like a huge group of people, and there's like one man standing in the middle on an altar, and he's got really white eyes. Yeah,
because all the zombies have white eyes as well, right?
Yes. So but then also apparently, if I'm getting it the right way around, infected people have got red eyes, and this old man has one white eye and one red eye. But
I think I've seen something somewhere where it says that there's a difference. I can't confirm this, but somebody seems to think that there's a different color eyes to all the people who refuse to get on the train because they are aliens already, or they are the people who have been infected by the gas, but they have actually become stronger because of it, rather than turning into
apparently there was a first visitation, and in my sort of background reading about the first visitation is that it was very like who's the bad guy in Avengers? Who's the big bad guy with the rings? Thanos, yeah. How and like his sort of thing was. Yeah, the population was overpopulated, so he just killed like 2/3 of the population at random. There seems to be a bit of a thing like this, in that a lot of people died. They rebuilt society, and then the second visitation came later.
Are you? Which school are you in about what caused the visitation? Do you think it's alien and not the government?
We might get to this, I guess, later on, but like. I think that it is like an alien invasion, almost alien-esque in terms of alien, as in the previous game we played, in that like they're infecting and people are being infected and sort of taken control of or replaced. or controlled by alien beings, and actually, what I take from this is that aliens are actually wanting to go and live on Earth, so they're replacing humans in a way that they're not quite aware of. And
so because at the end of the game you go back to the church, don't you? And they're talking about like a portal.
Yeah.
So I think.
But it seemed like I felt like that portal didn't work, and they were just trying to not die, and they were just sort of like like hiding behind religion as a way to survive.
Okay, yeah. That's I didn't think of it like that. I thought of it as in that they're trying to get the portal to this parallel version of wherever this planet is, and that parallel version on the other side of the portal is what sent these canisters over to try and cull the crappy people into zombies and enhance the intellect and
it could be
everybody else,
and that's actually really interesting.
They're trying to go back to them now, so like we're ready now.
It could be, and like I was saying before, that's a entirely valid sort of perception of this game. But like what I took from it is like you'll periodically encounter people, and you encounter the weird guy with the shotgun on various occasions throughout the game, and every time you encounter these people, they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't be here yet," or "It's not time."
Yeah.
You're going to make it, and I just took it as they know that the train driver's going to die, and they know that the train driver's life is over. But the train driver sort of because he's taken the Guardian stuff. He's like taken like the heart, the brain, like bits and pieces of the Guardian to this different place. On top of the fact that when you arrive in Metropole, it seems like the leader of the free world or the surviving world is used to be like a sci-fi author. So it's almost like the Guardian is the manifestation of his imagination, and he's trying to but the Guardian was never ever going to save humanity, and it was never going to work. But what it was,
and obviously it doesn't work.
No, and what it was something that humanity could cling to, while the aliens sort of replaced them, killed them, wiped them out, and in the fact that
so we're definitely saying that that's how we think it's going, not that the government.
No, I think the government. Yeah, no. In my opinion, the government fell. Yeah, I would think the government fell in the first visitation, in that it's just been a strategic way of the aliens sort of gathering people together so that they could take them out more easily. It is my take on that, but I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, because I can't remember how I'm getting to this idea. Maybe it's because there's a part of it that seems to look as if there's a factory manufacturing these capsules or something like that.
Yeah, you do encounter that. Yep.
So
you do.
Feasibly could potentially be that the government thought there was overpopulation. It
released right.
These capsules to be a medicine, as the hunter guy says, and then to try and cover up the fact that it was a government job. They've said it was a visitation of aliens. We are building a Guardian to protect you. Don't look into the fact that it was actually us all along that did this, and we survived.
I think that's another valid theory. In that, the fact that I sort of drew my theory was the fact that like the world leader was a science fiction author, and the Guardian is the biggest like anime science fiction sort of. Like, it's basically a Megazord, isn't it? Like, so I was this is like straight out of his imagination, but it's almost like in a way that if he had been sort of taken over by aliens, it was straight out of is like what an alien would think humans would see as a savior. But I totally get that, and I totally agree. Like your opinion and is something that absolutely makes sense, totally, and it is. And if you drill down in that as far. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, I was kind of backing that theory myself all the way, just sort of being like, okay, government did this, they, whatever. They're now covering it up with all this nonsense, and there's some religious kind of digs going on here of trying to make people not worry about etc. by making false idols, all that kind of stuff. But then the whole portal thing was what is kind of what threw me to make me think like, okay, so is this alien? Was this aliens? I think as well. I kept getting confused by the fact that they're talking about a second visitation as if it's already happened, and I was kind of like, did I miss that?
On top of that, I also read in sort of you encounter like writings within the game and bits and pieces that people think the reason that the Guardian failed was because there was sort of an underground group working against humanity, trying to scupper them. So like to sort of like present like a different point of view, like the people that you encounter that are like, oh, it's not your time yet, you need to keep going, like they were almost like the underground resistance that are trying to work against the Guardian, because they knew you were delivering stuff that wouldn't work and stuff that was faulty, or like I don't know what they're saying, but there's multiple aspects of this story that I think is, you can make, you depending on what angle you come from, you can sort of decide whatever feels most comfortable to you as the solution. I don't know.
Yeah, I would just like it to be
cut and dry. Cut and dry. Well, so I don't know if this will.
Maybe hang on. Is the second visitation, because there is a bit when you're on the train, isn't there? And then there's like in the background, in the hills and stuff, there's like loads of little fires going off.
Yeah.
I guess that's the second visitation.
You see things landing. You see like your train drivers being cut off bit by bit. You see the Guardian being launched. Apparently, is one of the things that you see.
Definitely do see that.
But I don't know. Like,
you see him crashed later on.
This is the thing, right? So like the reason that I sort of took note of this is because I wondered if you'd be interested. So this is the sort of general plot of the DLC. So the DLC. The player takes the role of a doomsday prepper named Peter, who aims to reach a shelter when the second visitation hits. He escapes his apartment in a car and begins travelling across country to reach the shelter, stopping at towns along the way to scavenge supplies, much like how you do it in the train. However, since the car can only carry one passenger, Peter must make decisions on whether survivors he should bring with him and which to leave behind, which is this main difference between the main game and the DLC. Peter eventually...
because you have no choice in the main game.
No, they just come.
If you go near them, they say yes or no.
Peter eventually reaches the shelter, but is dismayed to discover that he's already been sealed shut. Peter continues in hopes of finding another shelter at the city of Ristol. However, the Ristol shelter has also already been sealed shut. With no other choice, Peter decides to travel further west to the remote L Labs shelter. However, on the way there, Peter is caught in a car crash and is forced to proceed on foot. He sneaks his way through a bandit camp where the bandits have been capturing and rounding up survivors. When he's discovered, Arthur Vane, who's the guy with the shotgun that kills you in the main game, appears and helps you escape from there. But you end up being transported to a surreal landscape that defies the laws of space and time. Eventually, Peter encounters Vane again, and Vane offers him a place in the L Labs shelter, but Peter must murder Edward Jones, which is you in the main game. First, Vane then leaves Peter to be rescued by Jones, who offers him a seat in his train, and then the game finishes. So, theory being on this DLC that actually Vane that kills Jones is actually the player that you control in the DLC.
Well, right at his house?
Yeah, does that make it more or less confusing? To me, it makes it a bit more confusing.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah. Well, that kind of at least explains how potentially he's ahead of you all the time. Well,
to me, it also confirms the alien theory in that, like, this boy is sort of transported away, ends up in a different world. The alien sort of says, "Go do this for me, mate."
Yeah,
because there's no actual evidence to suggest that he even gets into a shelter at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He just kills this guy for him.
Fucking hell, they absolutely love a not going to see the whole ending, don't they?
Yeah.
Like an anticlimactic. I mean, I don't think the ending is bad. I know some people seem to be annoyed by the fact that you just get shot at the end and you turn into a black thing, but that didn't bother me. It was more just not understanding enough of what had led up to it, or being able to piece it together.
I'm going to try and look at stuff. I've got a link to the Guardian itself, and I can give you a bit of info on the Guardian to see if this helps sort of.
What do we think about the train then? Because the train seems to be there's some reference at some point, isn't there, that the train is basically the last train.
Yeah, and I think it's basically
it's like,
just because
is it alien? Is it old alien tech? What's the reason? Because the hunter guy, what's his name, Vane? He tells you that it's protecting you from the gas.
The trainers, the radiation being given out by, because you see a few of these bombs going off and they look very nuclear like. So if you're in sort of a guess like a metal enclosure. I don't know if that'll like you're just being protected from the radiation being given off and the poison being given off from the train. But
so there's no special sort of not mechanic, but like property. There's no special property to the outside of the train that's sort of stopping the gas getting in or negating its effects.
not that I took from it, but it's not to say that there's not. I guess like
Because if it was built, if it's a government that's doing this, then and the government also built the trains, that would explain why they would protect you.
yeah, and it would also
If
explain
they were
like,
able to sort of
yeah, I mean
give
like
the antidote to the poison or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. Coat
yeah.
the train in it, paint the train full of
Well,
anti-gas.
this is such a bad example, but it's the one that jumps to mind, so I'm going to go with it. But like at some point in the Harry Potter books, the sort of regular government falls and Voldemort's sort of bad government takes over, but there's no clear and cut point in which that happens. In if you're like a normal wizard, so at some point the government are or cease to be the sort of like free democratized government that maybe we live under today, and they become this sort of Nazi-esque like evil ulterior motive government at some point without the general population even knowing. So at some point they go from working for people to actively working against them, and to me, like, I would think maybe there's the chance that after the first visitation the government fell and they put this fucking sci-fi author in position as like a dummy head, and then they were planning all these things in the background, and that the Guardian was always meant to be just a sort of false hope for people that would all make them congregate in Metropole so they could then poison them and boom, take over. Let's move on.
They sort of manufactured the second visitation, I guess, if they are the alien beings all along. And some stragglers to finish off, then you've got to bring them all to us, and then we'll deal with them once they get here, and we'll continue our ascension to these higher sort of level beings.
Well, I but then again, like, so I'll read this. So, like, here's the summary of the Guardian, and you can, I don't know if does this lead into the theory or talk against it. So the Guardian is a bipedal machine that is designed to fight the effects of the capsules, which we've spoken about, and whatever is deploying them. Many citizens seem to place their trust wholesale in this Guardian, while a small minority seem to believe the Guardian itself is a scam, a cover-up meant to give a citizens a sense of false security. It was built by the blacksmith. We'll come back to the blacksmith in a minute, I guess, because I've opened up the tab for him. When the player arrives at Metropole, the neural interface and the power core are unloaded. Leaving Metropole, the player can see the Guardian being launched in the distance. Later on in the game, the player will see the Guardian collapsed with its armor damaged. It's unknown why the Guardian has failed, and one can only assume what happened. The machinery was defective, the neural interface was malfunctioned, or something attacked and defeated the Guardian, or too many zombies, or a much larger variant. Despite the fact that the Guardian has crashed, the player can see numerous light pillars across the land. The man with a shotgun, the hunter who is Vane, also tells the player that the Guardian has a plan. The Guardian plan was successful. When the player reaches the final stage of the game, he will know what actually happened. And then there's the Only Traitor DLC. In the DLC, it strongly suggested that the Guardian was sabotaged by... See, this seems to contradict itself. Sabotaged by forces allied with the invaders. The hero finds a missile with the instructions to launch it in case Guardian strays off course, and that's all the DLC says. The blacksmith is Dennis Morgan, better known as Blacksmith. He's a character in the final station, the Only Traitor DLC. So let's have a... Yeah, I'm not sure who Dennis Morgan is. That's all the final station wiki says about him.
Oh, okay.
Which is not helpful in the slightest.
No.
I feel like this entire conversation has neither proven nor disproven either of our theories about this game.
No.
Which is both the most
Maybe that's what they want.
I think that's probably what they want, but I think it's interesting that we both took sort of different theories on this.
Yeah. I'm still torn of whether it was aliens or the government or both.
Yeah.
Or what this portal thing is about. but it doesn't. I mean, I still enjoyed playing the game, which maybe we can go on to the gameplay now.
Yeah, I mean the gameplay itself. You're right. The gameplay is pretty simple. You arrive at a station. You've got to make your way through the station, find the code to allow you to move on to the next station. In the meantime, you've got to clear out zombies. You've got to pick up supplies so that you can keep your passengers and yourself alive.
Yeah.
And then you move on, and then the sort of between sections is the train sections where you've got to try and keep the voltage within an equilibrium on a train, or you've got to stop things overheating or something.
Ventilation system fixing. Yeah.
I think we've spoken about the train gameplay quite a lot, but the actual station gameplay I really enjoyed it. I thought the places were interesting. I thought the atmosphere and the design is good. Like it's like I think you've touched on it before, but like to loop back to the trains moving about, the backgrounds of the environments are stunning, and I would love some of those moving backgrounds just to stick on my PC to watch while I did other things. They're so good, and I enjoyed.
They look like they're sort of PlayStation graphics versus the 8-bit graphics that's at the forefront of the screen. Yeah. It's really like a nice contrast. And some of the cities, Metropole especially, when you're walking around like the construction of the Guardian, and it's all like its legs are all there, and it's got all these different languages all over the place. It's really cool to look at, even if the actual character models maybe aren't so much. But everything around it is really fantastic artwork.
Even the enemies I find quite dull and uninteresting, but
yeah,
I read every note I found. I read there's
another thing that's a little bit too vague.
Terminal,
yeah. Like I don't know if it's just me, but when you get games like this, it's the same with stuff like a lot of the Bethesda, Obsidian, that kind of thing, where there's stories within stories within stories, and there's so many little notes that seem so inconsequential that I either think to myself, like, either A, why is this in here? Why have you wasted my time reading something that means nothing? Or B, what the fuck have I missed because I don't understand what this is all about? All the little terminal notes, or the little written notes, or whatever, or the people you walk up to who just say something really confusing. Yeah. I sometimes think, like, why was this in the game? Because I don't understand why this is in the game. I don't understand what this note is talking about. Like, all the talk between you and the other conductors on the trains, I was like, who the hell even are these people? And the conversations are always so short and lacking in anything sort of concrete in terms of information that I always was just getting confused over and over again by every little bit of smaller dialogue that wasn't within the main story. I don't know if that's just because I wasn't paying enough attention. I don't know.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm going to have to pee.
Oh, okay.
Put a pin in that, and I'll be back with you in a second.
Okay.
So, for the video watchers, apologies, I had to go off to the toilet. For the podcast listeners, you'll hear none of this because Alex will nicely edit this out. But yeah, like what I took from, like, I guess like those, I agree with you on those frustrations.
I think sometimes it is just there for like world building, like
and the thing.
He's late. You can. What's the one where it's like, I'm leaving you for Alan. You can fuck around and play your music.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where it was going. And what I found that I ended up liking about it is that every time you arrived at a station, there seemed to be a very often inconsequential but small story in its own right.
It's like a self-isolated story.
Yeah, it's like someone that I mean, it almost always ended up in them just being dead. But it was like, I'm freezing.
There was the whole thing about David as well, wasn't it?
Looking for David, looking for wood. There was a guy that needed wood for the fire, and then you like go to you go to the next house over, and there was like a note from a husband saying, "Don't give that guy wood because he's just a twat." Like, I just like the sort of.
I think I was probably too hung up on trying to piece it into the overarching story, whereas you've obviously been able to compartmentalize it and separate it so that you've enjoyed it for what it was. And I wish I'd done that myself.
Well, I just kind of got to the point where I thought this again, because I don't. How many times have you? Like I was saying, I've not actually asked you. How many times have you been through this game?
Well, one and a half. Half with you when I came to visit, and then this
Yeah.
time,
Like
I bought it for this. So yeah,
like I was saying, this is the third time I've been through this game. Like
yeah,
I knew going into this that the story is you're never going to solve it. You're never going to solve it, and you're not going to ever know definitively what happened, because you could say you think it's the government, and then I could give you some reasons why it's not the government. I could say it's not the government, and then you could give me reasons why it was the government. And I think obviously it's deliberately like that.
yeah,
The problem for me with that is that it's built on top of a game that is not translated well. So
exactly.
you're playing this game thinking this is being deliberately obtuse, I think, but also it's also not getting the key points across to me necessarily that it's trying to get across to me, because I've seen many a time where they've just put entirely wrong words in a sentence that shouldn't be there, and that change the meaning of a sentence unless you're actually paying proper attention to what's going on. So I understand that, and I totally agree with you there. But yeah, like, because I do feel like I had an advantage going into this game because I had been through it so many times. I thought that this is not going to be solved.
Yeah,
You just have to sort of take your own conclusion from this and try to enjoy, or just try to. I enjoyed thinking about it, and I enjoyed trying to work out what was happening while I played the games.
I'd imagine on a second playthrough, I would kind of be able to try and pay more attention to what I thought would be important this time around, or at least try and pick up on things I hadn't the last time. That's basically what I came away from it thinking, certainly because I knew we were going to podcast about it, is that I feel woefully underprepared, and I think I need to play this again to sort of get what the fuck is going on, especially because playing through it, as we've touched on, is really quite enjoyable. The only thing that I didn't like was the fact that it changed your pistol into a rifle for some reason.
Oh yeah, at some point, it's like we've got given you a better gun.
Especially because you can get upgrades for the pistol before that.
Yeah.
And then it just takes it away from you. But yeah, I mean, the variety of the zombies very, very slowly ramps up and only introduces like
I've actually got a list we've got here. Let me see if I can find them. We have. Yeah, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of zombies sort of in the game.
5?
Yeah,
of course, there's the guys with the helmets.
There's normal, which is the regular. They called them normal, fast, exploders, armored, and big. So.
There's also the little girl, the woman one that jumps on you in like.
I thought that was the fast. The really fast little ones that seem to have dreadlocks that just sort of sprint. Oh no, there's the ones that grab onto your back.
Yeah, and you got to punch them off.
Oh yeah.
So there's an extra one there.
Yeah, you've done
they're
better
not
than
prevalent.
The Final Station wiki. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, those ones never killed me because they just seem to hold on to you. I don't really know.
And I had a bit of a run. I just fucking really enjoyed and find it hilarious how absolutely deadly this boy was with a full-blown punch. So
I didn't use that enough. I kept forgetting you could even do it.
We did this through text, so I suppose we better talk about it on the podcast. Is that I got to the point where I wouldn't allow myself to use a med kit from start to finish because I needed the med kits to keep those bleeding heats alive.
I don't know how you keep them alive without doing that.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
There was very many points where I was like hiding on staircases, just like winding up my punch to pop up, smack someone, and then run down the stairs again. I think
there's like a sweet spot on some ladders where they can't hit you back, but you can hit them.
I missed people
talk about that. Yeah, like if you go a certain height, you can punch them.
I just used to like wind up full punch. And then jump up, smash someone in the face. I'll take up an outer normal in one punch.
Yeah.
And then the other bit I used to if you could just punch walls down. This boy's punch was deadly.
Great. I love that.
Absolutely deadly. Don't mess.
I mean, so the little fast dudes are obviously the worst, the biggest.
They were the toughest. They were the hardest to deal with. Yeah.
They take a lot of shots. One shotgun will do it, but they take about 3 bullets. And they talk about, we've complained about the fact you couldn't buy stuff for the last third of the game and they wanted to balance it, blah, blah, blah. But I found my ammo reserves were so low that I would get so annoyed with myself
Yeah.
for missing even one shot or not getting a headshot on a normal dude. Which had I known, I could remembered I could do a
One
charge
punch.
punch and
One
take
punch
him
man.
out. Then, yeah, exactly. What about? Then I would have I'd have done that. But the little guys, it's funny that they take 3 bullets to kill or a box.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Box
chuck a
to the
box at 'em.
face, or a toilet, or a chair.
Love lobbing a toilet. That's fucking brilliant. That was excellent.
I do like, because of the speed the wee guys come at you. It did make like opening doors quite tense at times.
Oh
like,
yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
Because I was trying to get through it without using health kits. I would have like sometimes have like no health and be like, right, I've got my toilet ready. Just like kick open the door and get ready to launch the toilet at someone. And or there was the points.
Direction.
There's one specific level where you go down a set of stairs and there's just loads of guys, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know how. I can't remember how I got through that in the end.
I one punched my way through that.
I really liked the. So back to the sort of like the ammo chat.
Yeah.
That gave you sort of it worked sort of twofold for me. It either worked that I'd have to really strategically take people out.
Yeah.
And I really like the fact that when you've got the fast guys, they would always overtake the other ones. So if you had enough wiggle room to get back, you could separate them and maybe just one shotgun bullet will do them, and then you can pick off the other ones one by one. Or there were times when I just had nothing. Like I had no bullets left and no health, and I just thought I need to try and find a way to manipulate these to get away from them. So I actually tried running, which is something I hardly ever do. Like I play a Resident Evil game, I'm shooting every fucking zombie in the whole game. But this, I'd be standing on top of a building.
That's of its merit, though, like that it's making you do that.
Yeah. And then I'd be like trying to go down a ladder, halfway down a ladder to get some of them big lads to come after me, then run up the ladder, run to the other side, drop down the other ladder, and hopefully give myself enough time to get away. And even with the faster guys, there'd be times when I'd be trying to run from them, and you just get to a ladder or something in time to get out of the way. You can sort of create some gameplay moments in there that are really exhilarating, even though it's really simplistic.
Did you ever accidentally blow yourself up? I did that so many times.
Many times.
Either shooting a explodey boy, or like the smoky guy, or just lobbing like a red canister at folk.
Yeah, from like point blank range.
Yeah.
The worst thing is that when you had something in your hand, you lose the cursor to see which way you're going. And because I was playing it on console, a lot of the time I'd throw it in the wrong direction and get really annoyed that I'd wasted a precious toilet when I could have, really could have used that toilet. Open a door and you're actually facing away from the door and you chuck it there and just get attacked from behind. But yeah, and the exploration as well. It's not the most amazing I've ever seen. It's not Dark Souls level, but the way you basically most of your levels are going to be that you are going to go across an upper part, and then you're going to delve into the depths of whatever's going along, and you'll find the code, and then you'll basically have a different route to get all the way back to the beginning, and there'll be shortcuts and underpasses, and that was quite clever. I enjoyed that.
That's also what I really liked about the game, and like when we were talking about the story before, in that each area has its own interconnect, like sort of small story in itself. So like sometimes you would turn up at a station and you would come out of the station and realize that this station had just become a cult and they had mass suicided, or there was one guy in the cult that had killed everyone to drink their blood. And then
that's the one with the trap door in it, right?
And he's like, oh, it didn't work.
They're
like, no shit, mate, it did not work. But you're like some of them were really just simple. People just died. Some of them were simple. The alien or the capsule landed and cleared everyone out. It's just filled them with like weird things. But then other ones went a bit more mad with the cults or the religious ceremonies or the churches. Remember that? Did you encounter? I'm assuming you did. The one where there was like a massive table of people like sitting having a meal or something, and there was trapdoors under each seat.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great.
Which I think is the one that when you get to the bottom, there's you see all these different pipes, and it keeps going down to one point, and then there's a guy at the bottom. He's like, it didn't work. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
It did not work.
That almost like a pool of, just like a big red sort of vat at the bottom, or is that a different one?
No, I think that's the one. I think that's the one we're talking about. Yeah. So Yeah, I guess, and the only other thing we've not spoken about is the train gameplay loop, which we've spoken about it being frustrating. But
Yeah.
did you enjoy it in any way? Like I find it
If it wasn't
it's
interrupting dialogue, fine.
it's fine.
Apparently it's always just one thing that will go wrong on the train.
Yeah, I think
it's never going to be two things, but it could be one thing twice.
Right. Okay.
Apparently.
Right. Okay. So if you know that's going to happen, you can
hang around by
absorb
the
dialogue. But I just find trying to keep people alive was so stressful. Is not the word, but so you just had to watch them all the time. But and eventually, when you're getting towards the stop where they'll survive, and I was also like watching. And I was like, right, you've got this much health left that's going down at this speed. I'm this far away from the stop. Can I get to this? Because it might be the stop that you get off at. In which case I've saved a med kit. And I did that all the time. So
me too.
Which made me not engage with anything anyone was saying at any point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, if the story still has time to finish, but you're at the station and you've got somebody with hardly any health, fuck the story, mate.
No, I'm just watching.
I'm not wasting a med kit.
Don't die.
Yeah.
Don't die.
I'm going to run over and press that thing as soon as the horn sounds. I'm done.
And then
you're
like, right, I've got a second where nobody's dying or starving. I need to go and make ammo because I've got another station coming up in a minute. Or there's someone sending me a message.
Which I kept having to drop out of because the train would always break when I was reading them. And then you go back and it's like disconnected. Like, oh shit. Did I miss that? I think you could go read back and it was as if you'd had carried on talking to them even though you weren't there doing it.
Okay, that would work.
But that was odd. And honestly, every time I was talking to one of them other drivers, the train would break or somebody would start. I never had anybody die from hunger.
No,
I don't think.
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to look.
Do they die of hunger?
They do. Yeah. I'm looking through trying to look through my notes to see if there's anything we've missed. So like, you've got the food and you've got the med kits, which is like your two train sort of mains. The food can only be used by the passengers. It's not needed by you at all. And the med kits,
which is thank fuck.
Yeah, and the med kits is used by both you and the passengers, which is why I tried to never.
I don't think I realised at one point. Well, for a long time, I didn't realise I was draining my resources from the train on myself. I don't know why I didn't realise that. I always get back and they've all be bleeding to death. Like, why the fuck are all my med kits gone? Forgetting I'd used them all in the last town.
You've absolutely snaffling them.
Yeah.
What do you think about the game starting and finishing in the same spot? Are you up or down about that? Have you got any feelings about that?
I quite like that.
So apparently, and I never registered this at any point of playing the game, when you're leaving the station, what's it called, Redmond, it's before it falls, and then it obviously falls, and then by the time you come back, it's already being rebuilt by the survivors, in quotation marks, of the second visitation. Did you notice a difference between the two? I didn't notice that. No,
because what is the first? The first part is a dream, isn't it?
The first part's a dream, and then you wake up
because you have to die there. Yeah, effectively.
And then you wake up, and you're sort of not. It seems like you get your uniform and stuff, and it seems like you've either been on holiday or you're not the first choice train driver for this journey, but you're the only one left, so you've got to do it. And then
because that sort of plays into this whole: if you get infected by the medicine and you're not worthy of it, you will become a zombie, which I guess is why he does that, and he doesn't ascend to become stronger or whatever. Because he said the Vane guy says it's too much for some people, doesn't he? He says something like that.
He says it's too much for some people because apparently, and I don't know if you picked this up through playing the game because I picked it up in the wikis. If you survive the gas or the visitation or whatever, and you don't become one of these black zombies, you are more intelligent, you're stronger, you're fitter, you're faster than you were before. So you're very much of the ilk of Days Gone that we played, in that like you're sort of a super being.
Yeah.
On the other side, if you can sort of keep your brains throughout the whole thing. It's just that most people don't seem to keep their brains, and then they just become these messes. So
the game sort of sets your driver up as somebody who's not quite gonna, you can kind of tell he's not going to be able to handle it.
No,
if he
because
ever gets
he's yeah,
exposed to it.
you're right, because he's a bit of a it seems like he's a bit of a loser. People don't
Well,
really
yeah, he
rate
doesn't
him
seem
as
to
a
have
train
he doesn't seem to have
driver.
a partner either, does he? He's got a daughter clearly, but there's no woman in the picture that's on the ball at the end.
No, and there's people
Nobody
like,
answers the phone, so either they're dead or there's no one
and
there.
as you're chatting to the train drivers around you, like, oh, they all start apologizing to you for the way they've treated you and stuff like that. So yeah, you're obviously
Yeah,
you're not held in very high esteem.
exactly.
The only other thing I wanted to sort of bring up, kind of on this note, but one thing that we've never really spoken about yet is there's like, so looking at this, there are, if you include the sort of revisitations, there's 24 different stops throughout the game. About the midway point, so 13, 14, and 15, you visit what is known as unknown stations. And that is, I think, when you start encountering those stations, that is like, there's versions of your train that are being like sucked off by weird tentacle monsters. Did you see those?
I need to look that up.
So you arrive at a station and it's like you stop in a tunnel. And because when you get to the other side of the tunnel,
yeah, it's all
people
dark.
Everyone's like, why did it take you so long to get here? And you're like, well, I got stuck in a tunnel. And people are like, there's no tunnel from between where you came from and here. And when you stop off in these tunnels, you go through and there's like versions of your train that are like, there's like a tentacle monster like around them, and it seems to be like sucking stuff out of it. But
I've forgotten all of that.
And then you go in, there's like a door that seems to lead to where the suction stuff is going, but it's locked and you can't get into it, and you don't get to open and see what's inside it. So it's like various versions. It's even like, this is where it gets even more weird, because it's like there's various versions of yourself in your train. Because at some point after you come out or before you go in, at one point there's, because I looked this up, they talk about this train that went missing, and you go into these dark unknown stations, and it's the train number on the side of the train is this train that went missing. So it's gone into this tunnel that doesn't exist and never come out the other side. But your
what
train
is the
goes
number? Do
through
you know
and
what the
come out.
number is?
I don't know off the top of my head. So it's like a U. It's just like a U47 or something like that.
Because ours is 7, right?
Right, yeah.
I think I read somewhere that there was only 7, so we've got the last one.
Yeah, so there's another.
So maybe it's like 6 or something?
It could well be.
You reckon that's missions 13 to 15?
Yeah, so I'm looking at, so like station 1 is your Redmond, then you go in a place called Nimlard, then Keskus, then station A45, then Wallock, which is your first derelict station, then Midford, Bridgestone, Neville's A5, New Causfield, Ristall, Hazelbourne, Arden, then there's the 13, 14, 15, which is unknown stations, then the L Labs bunker, and that's when you arrive with the sort of brain of the Guardian. Yeah, and that's where they start saying, how did it take you so long to be here? And you're like, well, I got stuck in a tunnel, and they're like, there's no tunnel there. It's just another weird part of this game. And then you move on to...
So that's where it's still... We're saying that's where it's all black.
Yeah, it's all black, and then there's like tentacles and stuff. You encounter a train that sort of, it's almost like the tentacles are either grabbed on or sort of sucking on the train. I don't know what they're doing.
Hang on. Is this while you're in the train, or?
No, it's one of the stops. You get off the stops, and then you walk past. It's all black, and then you keep walking. Then you get to another. It's like another train, and then there's like doors and stuff that you go in and get. You get your number eventually, and then leave in the same way. But there's actually, it might be one of those stations, but there's no enemies either at the station. Do you remember that?
Okay. Yeah, one of the safe ones.
Yeah. It's just another very odd.
It's not this facility with all the red doors. That's where they were supposedly experimenting the drug on people, right? Try and
that could
see
be
if people could handle it. Maybe it's some sort of a secret. Jesus Christ, this needs an extra playthrough, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, that's totally just evaporated from my brain, that whole tentacle tunnel thing. I've tried to look for a playthrough really quickly, but I cannot find it.
I'll find it and send you a picture of it.
Yeah, please do.
But yeah, I guess that's kind of everything. I feel like we've covered most things about this game now. We've covered the weird theories about it. We've covered what we think about it. We've covered the gameplay loops. We've covered the story as best we can.
As anyone can, probably.
Do you want to? Do you feel? How do you feel about giving it a winner's you score on the 20-point scale?
I will give it a 7.5.
Yeah, okay. I think that's fair. I think what's interesting is we generally land within like a point or 0.5, because I think I would give this one an 8 out of 10 for me.
I took the 0.5 off for grammar.
Yeah, fair. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this game, and I thought that it's something unlike a lot of what we've played up to this point. It's just something new, and it's something different. It's fairly modern. And it's just a bit nebulous in a way that I find quite interesting.
Yeah.
But you seem to find frustrating.
Yeah, maybe that part frustrated me. But at the same time, I was enjoying playing it and looking at it enough to carry me through and appreciate it for at least that level of it.
Alex?
Can you hear me?
Yes. It's time for you to tell us what we've got next on the Winners podcast. I was trying to build it up.
Sorry. I thought you were just asking about Alex. Are you there?
Alex? Hello?
Did we actually?
Well, we've been playing it for the last week. Spoiler.
Yeah, but we were doing that for an anniversary. When is that anniversary? Were we not just going to play it to get it in the bank and then do something else?
Oh, were we?
Yeah, hang on.
Oh, so we may have a different game next. What we've done there is put layers upon layers of confusion now within the podcast. We've created created narrative. We've created narrative. This is our cinematic universe that we've created now.
Because we're on 27. So that's the 12th of December. That one. So we've got basically 2 weeks. So this one's probably going to come out Monday, 29th. Okay.
So we've got another game
from the 29th up to the 12th, which is effectively 2 weeks.
When does Halo come out? The 8th? 9th? Because we want to have this in the back. This blah blah. We want to have Max Payne in the bank before Halo. Yeah. Then
8th of December.
So is the next podcast Halo?
If we could,
or is there a short one we want to try and smash in the in between? Do we want to bank a small? I thought we had 4 in the go. It was.
Oh, we've got Obra Dinn as well.
That's it. So your podcast will be one of 3, basically.
So we could do Obra Dinn, then Max Payne, then Halo. And just have Halo run on, give us enough time to.
Halo's going to take us a while, and we don't want to force ourselves through it. We want to enjoy it because it sounds, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like it's going to be fucking shit hot. So we want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So what did you say? Obra Dinn, Max Payne, Halo.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, we've got Obra Dinn, Alex, to play.
Yeah, the return of the Obra Dinn.
I'm looking forward to this because again, what I liked about the final station was it was unlike stuff we played before. This is unlike anything we've played.
Yep.
It's mad.
Yeah, we're really just throwing total spanners into the works for the end of the year to make our end of year awards.
Well, this is the thing that we need to start texting each other about. We need to decide what kind of format we're going to be going for here for an end of the year discussion.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Which is another fun wrinkle.
So let's actually have a look. So we have played. Because obviously we've done 27 episodes now, but we haven't.
Yeah, I can't believe we've done this. We've been going a year. We've been doing well.
6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. We've now done 20 games. So by the end of the year, I'm assuming we'd have hoped to have done 23 games because we've got realistically 3 more for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because with Halo coming out, and we'll be doing that after we've done our Max
Well,
Payne
yeah,
episodes.
we've also got, like, you've got a
That's
baby.
gonna be
I'm trying to play Battlefield. You're also doing Sega writing. Like,
exactly.
When you do a AAA game for Goomba Stomp, you've also got to do articles on top of that. Like,
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so we're busy.
Are they giving you the old De Niro for that?
I'm not sure.
Well,
they should be. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to invoice him now or something.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I just couldn't be bothered to do it, so it's not worth it. But if you've had to buy the game, it probably is worth it. If you get two articles worth of money, you'll probably get 20 quid.
Yeah, get some money back for that.
So yeah, it looks as if we've basically got 3 games to take us to the end of the year, and then we'll do our awards show like right near the last week of December.
Yeah,
or whatever,
and it's probably a good idea that we start discussing what we're doing for that.
Yeah,
but that's for a podcast. If we've got any,
exactly.
Let's get the housekeeping done, Alex. For my part, because your part's infinitely more interesting than mine, I am doing the Battlefield 2042 review for GoomStomp.com. So keep an eye out on GoomStomp.com for that. There will be a couple of articles popping up about about Battlefield 2042. I think I'm going to. I've been trying to speak to Rick recently. We're going to rank the game modes and talk about them from that, and then try and just do some general discussion about what the game is before we review it. And then on top of that, I've just got the podcast going, I think. Come on in, tell us about what you've got on your plate, Mr. Alex.
So I think we talked about this last episode, but obviously, issue 3 of Sega Mania magazine is now available to buy from the Sega-Mania.com
Something
store.
has been posted to me. I don't know whether it's issue 1 or issue 3, but something is en route to David as we speak.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It might be issue 1. I'm not sure. I don't know what he's doing with the issue 3, but
he said there was some sort of weight problem going on with issue 3.
Yeah, they used the wrong type of paper or something. And
the old GSMs. Can't remember. I forget that from our uni days.
But yeah, so that's been a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, issue 3 is the first one I was involved in. So that one is now, I have it in my hands. It is a lovely piece of work that I'm very happy to be involved with. So yeah, that is Sega-Mania.com. And
just subscribe to it. Just do
it. This issue is focused entirely on the year 1992. So there's plenty of Mega Drive and Mega CD games reviewed in there.
What, no Dreamcast?
There's pop culture stuff. Oh, no Saturn. Good God. Yeah, and then I'll be fully into issue 4, which I think is going to come out sometime in the new year. I played Sonic Chaos for the Master System so far, and I've got a few more Mega Drive games from 1993.
Sounds excellent.
To get involved with. So it's good fun.
Well done, buddy. Right.
Thanks.
If you want to keep up with the podcast and you want to send us an email, please do. Just send us an email. Say hello or something.
Tell us tell us about what you think happens in the final station.
Exactly.
Someone must have played it. Why would you listen to this far in if you haven't played the fucking
Exactly.
game?
Send us an email to awinnersupodcast@gmail.com. Check out the video version of this podcast at the A Winners You Podcast. What do you call it? YouTube channel. You can tweet me or follow me, which is at DavidSmiley1, DavidSmillie1. And Alex, I've got you as Boomer Shooter, but tell me what you've changed to yourself to now.
Just back to Super Thrillix.
He's back to Super Thrillix. I've changed the footer of this podcast so we can change it right back. And you can send us a tweet to at @winnerisyoupod as well. So those are 3 Twitters you can give us a follow to. And that's just to keep in touch with us. So I guess that brings us to the end of the episode, Alex.
Does indeed.
We've done it. Episode 27.
We've reached the final station, my friend.
We have reached the final station. It's in the bag. We're about to go and vomit up some black ooze and die.
A man shoots us in my daughter's room.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. You're about to be... Little fucking sneak peek. Alex has picked a new father picked the most harrowing game he possibly could have for us to cover before the end of 2021.
Well, yeah, there was the bits where you've got the baby crying in the background. I couldn't tell the other day whether that was my baby or the game. Turns out it was both.
Yeah.
To myself, I was like, oh yeah, that is my baby.
And on that bombshell, I've been David. He has been Alex. We have been a Winners You Podcast, and I'm out.
Keep gaming.